Welcome, and thanks for joining me on the Ultimate 180 podcast. If you have ever felt exhausted, overwhelmed, or trapped in your own life and wish you were able to have a complete life makeover, then you're in the perfect place to learn how to pull an ultimate 180 and change your life beyond all expectations. I'm your host, Christina Walker, and in today's episode, I'm going to give you, all of you wonderful people pleasers out there, a big gift. I'll be sharing with you some secrets of how to embrace your power of saying no really in a kind and thoughtful way that will not leave you feeling guilty. So I'll be sharing with you a few insights that will actually motivate you to deliver your no's quicker and to open your eyes as to why those maybes and those yeses that you know is going to become a last minute no actually do more harm than good. Now, I came from a family of people pleasers, and I'm actually a recovering people pleaser myself. And over the years, I've come to recognize that people pleasers come in all shapes and sizes. The wonderful thing about us, truly, the wonderful thing about a people pleaser is that we are a deeply caring group of people who just really don't want to hurt other people's feelings. But what we're about to explore is that we're actually hurting other people when we think we're doing the opposite. So there's many different shades of people pleasing. And there are, of course, the extreme cases that we know about, like those people that they say yes to everything for everyone else, and then they end up doing nothing for themselves. And we know that's just not right. And because we're all worthy and deserving of a life that we love. And it is impossible to do that when your life is not your own. But most pleasers are situational. So they may have a great, self boundaries in one part of their life, like in their social life. But when it comes to pleasing their family, they get weak or vice versa. So what we can do to change this so that we feel good about all of our decisions and we aren't left with all the guilt, I'm about to tell you. And I'm going to start with a story because it's going to help you understand how you can feel better about saying no and lose that guilt. And because no's can be really difficult. And I notice for a lot of women, no's are very difficult because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So my husband actually told me this story years ago. He was dating somebody in high school and he really wanted to break up with her. And we might have all had this situation happen, and it's really tough. And especially when it's your first love or whatever, and he just really wanted to break up. But he's a people pleaser, and he just didn't want to hurt her feelings. And he felt bad, and he stayed with her too long. And his mom actually took him aside one day and she said, I know you think that you're being nice, but what you have to understand is that you're really not being fair to her. Because if you allowed her to move on because you don't want to be with her, you're actually taking away the opportunity for her to meet somebody else, to meet somebody who does love her, who wants her in her life. So you're actually stealing that from her. And you think that you're being kind because you don't want to hurt her feelings. And yes, in the moment, she's going to be upset and maybe angry. But the reality is that you are hurting her by keeping her in a relationship that you already know you don't want to be in. And I thought, and that story just stuck with me forever because it's so true. We get in these situations where we really think we're doing something and we're sticking with something that we don't want in life because we feel like it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. But we really don't realize we're robbing them of an opportunity for something even better for themselves. Because if we don't want to be there, then shouldn't they have the opportunity to be with somebody or even a job, right? What if you hate your job and you could be doing something completely different or even just at a different company, but you're also robbing the opportunity for that job to go somebody who really wants it. There's somebody out there that probably really wants your job, doing what you do best, but you just might not be happy in this role. That's okay. But by you sitting there and being like, well, I don't want to hurt my team's feelings and I don't want to hurt my boss's feelings or I'm too scared. All of that is that you are stealing the opportunity from somebody else. And you're also stealing the opportunity for yourself to do something amazing. You're even in that situation with my husband, he was robbing himself of the opportunity to meet me. No, I'm just kidding. But really, we didn't meet till I was 30, but you know what I mean? Like of his next girlfriend. He was robbing himself of the opportunity to find love elsewhere. But we think that we're doing this. Again, understand that we really think we're doing this to help somebody else. So I hope that makes sense to you the next time that you think when you're staying in a situation that you're really causing more harm than you're doing good. The other thing is when we say maybe to somebody. So somebody has invited you out, somebody has invited you to a party, and this is my own personal story because I am the party queen. I am a party planner to the extreme. I love it. I absolutely love it when I'm not exhausted. But it takes a lot of time and effort and money um, to plan a really great party. And so I put a lot of effort into it. And when people say maybe, or worse, they say yes, knowing that they're not going to show up, what they don't understand is so I'm here, let's go back to the maybe for a minute. If you wait to the last minute because you're not sure if you want to go and maybe you don't really want to go, this is what happens a lot. You don't really want to go because you're just too busy. It's not that you don't want to go to the party. It's just that your life is so busy right now that you're just like, oh my God, I really want to go, but like I'm exhausted and maybe I'll see as I get closer if I'm not exhausted. The problem is, so I'm going to tell you from the party planner's perspective, is guess what? I just want to know. Yes, of course I want you there. I wouldn't have invited you there if I didn't want you there. But I also need to know my numbers because it really makes a difference, not only for me to plan, let's say, the food, right? So I have to have enough food. I don't want too much food. There's also sometimes I've invited certain people because it's almost like there's a job in mind, right? So let's say I have somebody that's so outgoing and they are great at, talking to all the wallflowers, right? And I've invited a lot of wallflowers, let's say, to this particular event. And maybe because they're coming, I have extended this invitation to other wallflowers because that person really knows how to move a room like I do. And if that person had no intention of showing up at my party and they canceled last minute, or if they said maybe because they didn't really want to go, then I have made plans to add these other people and so that they could help me, right, raise the energy of the party. It has completely changed the dynamic of my party. And do you see where like the pain point comes in from the person that invited you? They spend a lot of time and effort when it comes to a party or it comes to an event or they've invited you to something special, right? They've wanted you to come to something special. And I think that's why we feel so guilty inside is like, oh gosh, they invited me, I should go. But honestly, more than anything, if you have no intention of going, please just tell them because you are causing them pain by not telling them. And that's a hard thing to understand, especially if you've never run an event, is yes, I want you there, but please tell me right away if you can't go, if you have no intention of going. And you know what? And I do tell those people that it's the people that say no up front. They'll be like, gosh, I just don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I've got too much stuff going on. Then I know they're probably not going to make it. And those people are usually the ones that I say, you know what? If you can make it last minute, just let me know. But I'll count you out. But if you can make it last minute, show up because I'm gonna probably have enough food because I always have too much food anyways. And and they told me up front, so I have no other job for them. And now I know. The other thing is if you say yes to somebody just because you feel obligated. That's a whole different kind of pain. And I want you to think about it this way because your friend has invited you out, let's say, and you feel this obligation. Oh, gosh, I should really support them. I should go, but I have all of these other things I need to do, and I'm really stressed out. And I've got, these 5 things I have to get done this week. And I do want to go out, but I really shouldn't because I really should get these 5 things done. So what happens is we feel obligated, then we go, and then we're stressed. So let me flip the script here for a minute. If you invited your friend somewhere and they, you, let me see how to say this properly. If you've invited, if your friend knew that you were really stressed out, do you really think that your friend would want you to get stressed out to come to your party or to come out to dinner or to whatever it is, that it was going to make them very stressed out? Would you really think that your friend would want that for you? It's a different kind of pain, right? But if you think about it that way, if you are going to be in pain because you go with them, they don't want that. They do not want that. They really don't want you to be in pain for them. Does that make sense? So think about that the next time you feel obligated because I know if I invited my best friend, and in fact, this happened recently. I invited her to lunch, and at the last minute, she had a ton of deadlines at work. And so I said, "Hey, you still on for today?" She could have said, "Yeah." And then she was going to be really stressed out. But she said, "Is there any way we can change this to tomorrow? I have all of these deadlines and I'm getting really stressed." And that was it. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to go to lunch with you stressed. I really don't. I want to enjoy all of you. I want to enjoy my friend who's thinking about us and being present and not sitting there stressing about work." So it's okay to say, "You know what? I have so much. This week it's just not going to work out for me. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much. I would love to. It's just not going to work." But that obligation, if you have too many parties over the Christmas holiday or whatever holiday, and you just feel just completely overrun and there's too much to do, it's okay to not go to your best friend's party. It's okay, but tell them up front, like, "I just don't think I'm going to be able to fit this in this year. I'm so sorry." And I bet they'll say, "You know what? It's okay if you can come last minute," because you never know. Maybe you'll beat all your deadlines and you'll be able to show up. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves because we don't realize that we're actually causing pain when we're pleasing. So, the first thing I always tell people to think about is think about you. What do you want? Like you have to really, what do you really want as your best self? If you're coming from that space of I am going to be the best of me, I'm going to feel the best. What is the best for me right now? And start there. What do you really want? Not just getting caught up in the moment of like, "Yeah, let's go out next week. Woo." Okay, that might have sounded good, but you can also call tomorrow and say, "I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't have my calendar in front of me," right? It's okay. Everything sounds fun in the moment. Sometimes you're like, "Yes, let's get together again." But sometimes it's just not realistic. But what is going to be best for you? You've got to consider that first, absolutely first. And I have a great line because it's really about guilt. We feel guilty, right? We feel guilty that we're not showing up somewhere and we're not going to everything. There's probably a little FOMO going on, right? Fear of missing out. Um, and we have to start to kind of get through that fear of missing out because when we start making what's more important for me right now, instead of like, "Oh my God, what's everybody else doing?" We're prioritizing them over us. So when we come from what is best for me, And then the way to, this is such a real thing to say, and it curbs guilt, okay? Because we feel guilty when we're people pleasing, that we're letting them down or something. So this is what I like to say. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Now is not the right time with everything that I have going on. That's it, right? Because you have to understand that plans with yourself are more important sometimes, right? You've got to plan to have time to do the things you need to do. Those plans are the most important plans. And when you can come from that space of, you know what, I am important. I've got stuff I've got to do, and I just can't do that right now. And that's for opportunities. Like let's say a job offer, or let's say a freelancing opportunity comes up, a collaboration, and maybe it sounds great in the moment. It's good to take a moment and say, let me think about that before jumping in, because sometimes it sounds so fun and we're like, yeah, that's great. Let's do this. And then you're like, wait a minute, how am I going to fit that in? So take a pause, think about what's important, what's really important to you right now, where you're at in life right this minute, with whatever you're dealing with. And then really, thank you so much for thinking of me. Now is not the right time. Or, you know what? I have so much going on. It's just not going to fit into my schedule right now. Let me know some other time, or maybe in the future, right? You're telling them the truth. And the truth, there's no guilt to that. It's just the truth. And yes, there's going to be occasions where people might be upset, but they're going to be really upset if you cancel on them last minute. Does that make sense? So, and of course, life happens. People get sick, kids get sick, whatever. When that really happens, you have to cancel last minute. But I'm talking about when you know ahead of time. Or let's say you want to collaborate with somebody, and then yet in your gut, you're like, gosh, this isn't right for me right now. It's okay to say, you know what? I thought about it. I looked at my schedule, and I can't make this happen right now. It's okay, because you are really coming from a space of what's good for me. And yeah, they might get upset, but guess what? They're going to get over it. And kind of like I said at that beginning story, is you're releasing them, and maybe something even better is going to happen for them, because maybe it wasn't the right collaboration. Maybe, somebody else needed to go to that party. Maybe something else needed to happen. You just never know. But you've got to start with yourself. And honestly, if that person really cares about you, if they really love you, you really have to ask yourself, if they're not getting over it, are they really supporting you in what you want in life? You might need to ask that question, because if they really are that upset and holding a grudge against you because you said no, then maybe you need to release that person, or at least have a conversation with them about, you know what, you have to take some time to do what's important for you first. So I hope all of that made sense. And I love you, people pleasers. I understand you. And I'd love to hear if this method works for you, because guilt is a terrible thing to live with. And you shouldn't have to live that way whenever you say no. So make sure those no's come quicker. Get rid of the maybes whenever you can. And please try not to say yes when you already know it's going to be a no. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you want any more information on how to pull your Ultimate 180, go to my website, ultimate180.com, and join my VIP group. You can catch all my podcast episodes there, as well as Apple, Spotify, wherever you catch your shows.